excited.
People need elements of risk to actually feel alive.
The most I've ever lost?
42,000 over 7 weeks.
I get really annoyed with the "you must have a death wish" comment. I spend quite a lot of time trying to stay alive.
Here we go. What is it that drives us to do exciting things? Has life just got too comfortable? In this programme, we're going to be looking at risk-taking, both mental and physical.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. I'm so excited.
Kind of like, it makes your tummy get all funny. You don't go on it much. I don't go on it because I don't like it.
Life is a terminal disease. Nobody's ever survived it, so you might as well enjoy it.
So how can we make the most of our lives? Can risk-taking sharpen our minds and help us achieve our goals? These days, most of us live in a safe, secure environment. Risk isn't necessarily a part of our daily lives. So why is it that so many of us seek out physical sensations, like riding on a roller coaster or bungee jumping? In this programme, we'll look at the effect risk has on our minds and bodies and see how our brains deal with it. Do we, as human beings, have an instinct for risk-taking? Some think that the evolution of our species depended on our unique ability to seek out and face new challenges. This is the story of two men who embrace risk every day of their lives. Andy Montrieux is a parachute instructor and risks his life every time he makes that jump. So why has he chosen this lifestyle?
The reason I do it is because I feel good at the end of it. I feel quite chuffed with myself and quite pleased. And it's not a I've got to go and show everybody else, what I'm doing here. I can just come here and do this on my own, and it makes me happy.
Andy Smith is a bookie and a punter. His world revolves around horses, racecourses and gambling. He risks his livelihood on the luck of the draw. So why put himself under so much pressure?
When you get it right and you back a winner, you know that you're getting it right. It's just a great feeling, isn't it?
Today, I'm going to explore just how risk can make you feel good. And to do that, I'm going to jump out of an aeroplane. I'm going to do a tandem jump with Andy Montrieux. And that means that he's going to be the person who pulls the cord while he's attached to my back, and all I have to do is jump out of a plane from 9,000 feet. So what got you into this in the first place?
Well, it's something I'd always seen on TV and thought, I'm going to get around to doing that one day. And it was actually some friends of mine that I used to windsurf with said, come on, we've been talking about this for years, why don't we go and do it? So 10 years altogether I've been doing it, and that time I've clocked up just over 3,000 jumps, and I feel like I've only just begun, really.
Well, in order to understand risk, we need to understand a little bit about the biology of the way in which our brain communicates with the rest of our body, and also the way in which the various structures within the brain communicate one with the other. There's the behavioural activation system, which is the system that affects our what we call approach behaviour, our sociability, our interest. Secondly, there's the behavioural inhibition system, which actually suppresses behaviour. It makes us feel anxious if we have an overactive BIS.
So, to put it another way, one thought channel encourages us to take action, to go out and do it. And the other one says, whoa, hold back, stop, don't do anything risky.
Now, the way in which these systems interact one with the other is very sophisticated. People who are impulsively sensation-seeking have an under-reactive behavioural inhibition system, which means that this behaviour isn't suppressed. They don't sense anxiety, they don't feel frightened or worried, and so they will carry on doing the same kind of thing in order to feed this reward system.
So some people are born with more of this go channel than others, and they're likely to be the ones that need to seek out excitement in order to feel good. But we also wanted to see how our bodies respond to risk, so we asked psychologist Chris Alford to help.
We're getting ready to do the tandem jump, and so what we're going to do is try to have a look at actually what our bodies are undergoing as we're falling out of the sky. So Chris, what exactly are you going to be monitoring and how are you going to do it?
Well, we've got a couple of monitors for you to wear today. The first one is a simple wrist monitor, which will take your blood pressure from around your wrist and also give an indication of your pulse. And here's the watch. People have probably seen these, they often wear them at the gym when they're training, and it records your heart rate. And so you can get a continuous measure from this one. So the idea is that you'll take this with you. Of course, you wear a band on your chest to actually pick up these signals from your heart, and that's transmitted to the watch. So,
What kind of increases are you expecting to see?
well, for you, Cathy, because this is relatively new to you, I'd expect quite a big change. Andy, on the other hand, bit of a cool customer, has done it all before, whilst you'd expect some increase in pulse rate because, you know, he's going to pay attention, he's got to make sure everything's right.
I hope so.
We'll be watching.
Chris asked us to complete a mood scale questionnaire. It's designed to indicate what your mood is at a particular moment in time. We have to mark which end of the scale best describes our mood, on the night prior to the jump, immediately before it, and just after we land.
So these are fairly sensitive, so we expect to see quite a change in that as well.
One of the things that happens when we engage in risky behaviour is that we run the risk of triggering our fight or flight system, feeling this overpowering adrenaline-based urge to either run away or stand our ground and engage in some strenuous physical activity.
I'm feeling quite excited. I'm not feeling very scared.
When we're under-aroused, we will feel bored or we will feel lethargic. At the other end of the scale, if there's too much arousal, too much stimulation, then we'll feel stressed, and again, we won't feel in control of what we're doing.
I'm feeling excited.
Between those two parts, there is a happy medium. There is an optimal level of stimulation that we can get from the environment, where we're performing at our best possible level.
Jacket, and that's it.
And that's the point at which we feel most in control of our behaviour, and therefore we will try to reach that particular level of optimal stimulation for as much of the time as possible.
Okay, just lift your feet off the ground.
How do I do that?
Bend your knees. Okay.
Andy really seems to know what he's doing, and Chris has a last-minute check on our watches and monitors. Now I feel I can relax and really enjoy the experience.
I'm starting to feel very excited. I am so lucky. My pulse is now about 90, so I think I'm more excited than I was before.
If we're able to convince ourselves that although we have no control over our fate, somebody else does, then we're able to actually enjoy those activities. If you compare driving in a passenger seat with a complete maniac with riding a roller coaster, the actual physical sensation is going to be pretty similar. The roller coaster example, it's tried and tested. In the other situation, we have no such comfort. The roller coaster ride we'll enjoy. The ride in the car with the maniac, we won't.
I can feel the adrenaline rising at the thought of the jump. But I wonder if a risk that's more mental than physical would produce the same kind of buzz.
I'm at Exeter Racecourse to meet a man who makes a living out of taking risks, gambling. He lives and breathes the world of national hunt racing. He's a bookie and has a pitch at all the major racecourses, but he's also a punter, and I'm going to go see him in action. I've never bet in my life before. How do I first of all decide which race to go for, and then how do I decide which horse to go for?
It's taken me 26 years to sort that out, and I don't think you're going to learn it in 2 minutes. If you've not had a bet before, I should say, just do what you know best. People say they've never gambled before to me. Lots of people say they've never gambled. And I said, well, everyone's gambled somewhere along the line. You gamble buying your house, you gamble, everything's a gamble. But I gamble differently. I just gamble on the horses every day.
Everybody needs some form of excitement in their life. My enjoyment is to place my wits against the bookmakers and hopefully at the end of the season come out with a small amount of profit.
Until quite recently, I actually had a stake in a racehorse, and I watched him win at Exeter, and I was the only one of the consortium. And I did learn a bit about that thrill of your horse actually winning. I mean, winning a bet's great fun, but if you have a stake in one, it's an exciting game, you know.
If I'm going racing to make a book, to be the bookmaker, I'm usually up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, unless I've done a lot of work the night before, but I always try to get up early. Get up, turn my computer on, download the runners, and just work out what you think the odds should be, and the chances of every horse, see what the trainer's in for, and, you know, and by the time I finish then, 8:30, I buy the Racing Post, look at their prices, look at my own prices. Right, Rob? Yeah, chuck this in. Chuck down the mower. I'm doing 17-hour days. It's a hard job. It's a rewarding job. You say, you know, I live in a fairly nice house and got a nice car, and we have 5 or 6 holidays a year. But people don't see how much work. They think, oh dear, you turn up at the races, oh they heard, oh Andy backed that 20-1. They don't see the hard work that's gone into it, or like you might have bet 5 losers before that. They see you bet 1 winner, oh that was lucky, that was lucky. It's not luck like that, it's hard work, and some nights you'll come in and you're so exhausted, and people don't believe how hard you've got to work.
Computer's in the back, all right?
Yeah, all right. The mental strain of it, yeah, it's all day you're thinking about this, and there's prices, and it's all around your head. And I do try to take a few holidays a year, just to get away and relax.
Well, I think gamblers are certainly risk takers. I think one of the things about gamblers is that they believe that they have a great deal more control over their activities and the outcomes of those activities than actually they do.
If I offer high odds as a bookmaker, I'm offering high odds because I think it won't win. I've gone as much as 1,000-1 a horse because it had no possible chance, you know, and I've laid somebody 1,000-1 to 40 quid. It's going to cost you 40,000 to win 40 quid. Some people say you're mad, but I know that horse is impossible to win. I've got more chance of getting struck by lightning twice on the way home. Thank you. Two £200, thank you.
The unusual thing about Andy is that not only does he run a bookmaker's business at the racecourses, but he also likes to place personal bets with other bookmakers. So, life can be pretty precarious.
The most important thing is, if you're going to be a punter, is not to kid yourself. You know, every day I write my bets down in a desk diary, so I know how I got on that day, I know how I got on that week, how I go that month, how I go that year. It's no good kidding yourself. If you're not winning, I'd want to pack it in, you know.
And I've got 20 quid here to put on a horse. My gut reaction, the horse I want to put my money on is Possible Pardon. And that's partly because I like the name and I quite like the writer.
Yes.
What do you think about Possible Pardon's chances?
It was favourite this morning. I don't think it'll win, even though it's 5-1 favourite. You know, so if it's 5, I'd be prepared to offer a bigger price than what it was this morning.
So which horse do you think is going to win?
Well, only on the prices I've backed, number 13, Celine Storm, 16-1 this morning. I thought that was a huge price, and I think it should only be half them odds, so I've backed that.
Oh, I'm going to stick with Possible Pardon. I think I'm crazy, ignoring your advice.
Well, no, at the moment, everything I do is wrong, so... Right, there's your ticket there, OK?
OK, thank you very much.
6-1, £10 each way.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
See you soon.
I don't think so. Cheers.
In part 2, we see how the skydive went, whether I won a ton or lost 20 quid, and Andy Montrio takes risk to quite another level.
should be much more scared. I'm about to find out how my heart and blood pressure cope with high flying.
Right out in front of you. What do you think of that?
That was so exciting. That was good. 160 and flashing.
158 now. 151.
But in the plane, my pulse, my blood pressure went down to about 90. What was your last reading from the plane?
I was dead. But I got better when the fresh air hit me.
Calm.
Well, when we experience the fight or flight reaction, there are a number of physical changes in our bodies that we have relatively little control over.
Yeah.
Our heartbeat will increase, our breathing rate will increase, our blood pressure will increase, our muscles will tense, and actually these can include our facial muscles, and so we may smile.
I think she enjoyed herself.
We may laugh uncontrollably. And these are all natural reactions to the surge of adrenaline that we get through our bloodstream when our fight or flight reaction is triggered.
Somehow, I managed to calm down enough to complete the 3rd mood scale form, and Andy does the same.
Thank you, Andy.
No problem. Glad you enjoyed it.
I felt very, very safe. Chris, what have you found?
You can see when you're active and getting ready, it's between sort of 75 and 100. When you actually sort of took off, you're in the aeroplane, your heart rate went up to over 100, and then as you've done the jump, it's rocketed right up to about 160, the red band there on the top. And then it stayed up for quite a while, obviously very excited and elated.
160 is just about what you said as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought maybe you get up to about 150, you've gone for gold there. And so the adrenaline rush has kept you bouncing. I mean, you were pretty bouncy on the ground there, as I'm sure you might remember. One of the things I did find interesting about Andy's heart rate was that he's an experienced parachutist and his heart didn't go up as much as yours did. But when he was getting ready and thinking about it, you can see that his heart rate actually went up quite a lot there and was going up to around about 100 beats per minute. So for somebody very fit and largely just sort of standing around, that's quite a high rate. So I'd interpret that as being a bit of anticipatory anxiety, you know, as he's thinking about what's going to happen, it's going to be his job, you know, he's got to do everything right. So he's reacted more just thinking about what he's going to do, but then being calmer when he's actually done the jump.
And what about the written questionnaires that we did? What do they show?
They've shown quite some dramatic changes as well, apart from Andy, who's Mr. Cool, so we've seen rather minor changes, but Cathy...
Unlike me, who's
extremist, she wanted to extend the scale.
So last night I was over here and I've shot up.
You've shot right up from the middle right up to the end there. Happy you wanted to go off the scale, so it's a lot of these, you can see you're an extreme person, you know.
These results show how my body responded to physical risk. My mood and heart rate changed. But Andy made me feel safe and relaxed. So that meant I was able to enjoy every minute of it. Back at the racecourse, and the anticipation of winning is kicking in. But the mental strain of willing your horse to be first past the post is exhausting. So just how risky is gambling?
Very risky. Some days, like the last week, I think I've lost 30,000. I've made the wrong choices, but I know it's a balance sheet, and at the end of the year, if I keep doing my work, I'll make it pay. If I lose my money and I think I've been stupid, then I'll give myself, I'm murdered, I'll give myself a right talking to. But if I've gone racing, I've lost, and I went racing the next day and would do exactly the same, then I'm not worried. I know I'll win in the end. I've got a house out of this game, I've got good pitches. If it went wrong tomorrow, I could only end at level. I started with nothing, nobody's given me anything.
Things aren't going so well, and I'm beginning to get a bit of a sinking feeling. My luck is running out.
You've won £12.50. And where did possible pardon come in the end?
Oh, I did it with Craig.
He was just way out there, dropped off.
If we feel in control, then we're far more likely to take risks. We're far more likely to expose ourselves to danger, simply because we won't experience the kind of anxiety that a lack of control will initiate in us. A racing gambler, somebody who bets on the horses, will check form very carefully, again, to try and exert some form of control over the aspects which inherently are uncontrollable.
Well, I didn't win and you didn't win.
No, that's right, because we both lost.
And how do you feel? Is it disappointing?
I don't know. Yeah, a bit gutted. I thought we had a chance at over the far side. I thought, it's definitely going to be in the frame. Never mind.
Oh, well.
There you go, another day.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, thanks for your advice.
Okay, sorry it was no good.
Cheers.
Okay.
I don't think gambling is for me. It just doesn't make me feel good. I prefer a more physical buzz. A new day, a new challenge. And Andy Montrieux is upping the risk factor 100%. He's going to jump off a 300-foot cliff and will hopefully live to tell the tale.
Well, I think if you said it wasn't dangerous, you'd be foolish. Base jumping is the name we give to jumping from fixed objects as opposed to moving aircraft. I'm 300 feet above the sea on a lump of limestone with a sheer cliff in front of me. And that's the jump that I'm going to make later on. For me, doing something like this, you are in a dangerous environment. It provides the pressure which makes you perform well because the stakes are so high. There's a little bit of a problem in as much as there's a bit of a breeze blowing out of the east at the moment. I need to open facing away from the cliff so the parachute will start flying away from it immediately. Any one of a number of reasons could mean that the parachute opens facing towards the cliff. And with a wind like this, that may give me a few problems getting away from it. What I'm going to do in a second is chuck a few bits and pieces over the edge, and that'll give me a bit of an idea of what the wind and what the turbulence is doing at different heights down the cliff. I'm often asked what the next step is and where am I going to push it to next. And I think it's about having the confidence in yourself to do something which is ultimately risky. I mean, jumping off a 300-foot cliff, if you don't do some quite important stuff on the way down, it is going to make a mess of your day. The things that are going to hurt you are hitting the object you've jumped off. You can see you've only got 180 degrees of direction to go in without hitting a cliff. Modern parachutes do have a forward speed. In the right scenario, that forward speed is taking you away from the cliff. In the wrong one, it's flying you back in towards it. And in that situation, you've got to react very quickly. Yeah, I get really annoyed with the "you must have a death wish" comment because, I spend quite a lot of time trying to stay alive, and if I had a death wish, I don't think it'd take me much longer than about 5 minutes to sort it out. See you at some point in the future. There's a moment of focus which occurs just after you've let go of the pilot chute, before you've heard that reassuring crack of the canopy opening above your head. Quite an intense moment, and I suppose that's really what it's all about for me.
Andy makes it look so easy. It takes my breath away just watching him. I love doing scary things, but I can't picture ever doing this.
Here I am at the bottom, and I am feeling quite chuffed with myself. The reason I do it is because I feel good at the end of it. And it's not I've got to go and show everybody else, what I'm doing here. I can just come here and do this on my own, and it makes me happy.
So what about you? Are you the kind of person who needs excitement to keep you feeling alive? Or do you let that no voice limit your horizons? If you haven't experienced much risk before, it might be worth stepping outside your comfort zones, upping the stakes a bit. You never know, you might find you really like it. Next time on The Truth About, we look at courage. Why are we prepared to put our own lives on the line, sometimes for the sake of a complete stranger?